Welcome in, Believe in Commanders podcast. Scott, Jackson, and Anthony Armstrong, part of the Believe Network. And, of course, we are brought to you by FanDuel. Please like, comment, and follow. As you see there, the former Washington Redskin has got his Hail hat on. I like that. It's a sharp hat, by the way. And it kind of fits like any occasion, right? Like you can have it on for any occasion.
I do feel like this. You could put this on with a tuxedo and people wouldn't get that upset with you. You know what I mean? They'd be like, you ain't supposed to wear that in here, but it's kind of a nice hat. This is the Santana Moss. There's a Santana Moss Ring of Fame edition. What a day to have a day is with the brand. So shout out to them. I had to pick something up, man. But good to see you, Scott. Good to see you. Not that far away from the NFL draft, like 16 days, something like that.
I know.
A couple of weeks
crazy?
away. Yes, indeed. And I'm gonna say this. The number one thing, I'm going to get this out of the way now. I don't expect it to happen, but I would hate to get over there and then find out the Commanders don't make a damn selection in the first round. That would be my absolute worst.
Oh, my God.
If they trade,
they'd be getting a lot.
They would be getting a lot
if they did that.
But I would be.
Yeah, they'd be getting a lot if they did that.
I'd be staying up late. I'd be up past my bedtime. You know what I mean? I got.
Well, it's an hour earlier for you, at least. You know, you guys get the Central Time. You guys got it easy compared to us East Coasters. Have to stay up till almost midnight to watch the end of a college basketball game. For goodness sakes. Well, I'll tell you what. We're getting closer. I'm starting to see all these different mocks, and I'm probably spending way too much time on them and acting like they matter. At this point, but I do think the visits are interesting. I don't know if you've been following this, but with one of our favorite guys here on this podcast, Jeremiah Love, he's visited with the Tennessee Titans, who make a lot of sense for him. The Giants, who I'd hate to see him go to. Oh, please don't go to the Giants. And the interesting one to me was the Bengals, right? Cincinnati picking at 10 was an interesting one. I mean, you wouldn't be mad at Jeremiah Love. He said, "No, I'm a top, whatever guy. I don't need to go to Cincinnati for a visit." But also, of course, there's always a possibility they could try to move up, right? But that would be interesting, Cincinnati with him, with those weapons they already have in place. I don't know if he'll make it that far. I think they'd have to move in to get him. But I don't know. Does this are you moved by these visits? I feel like some teams use them like in like really to see a person they want to draft. I think some people use them as smoke signals or smoke screens, excuse me. I think some people use them as just, opportunity to look at guys that maybe they won't talk to now, but they'll talk to maybe in the future in a free agent market. It's just like there's a lot of games, I think, that are played with these things, and sometimes they're done for agents too.
Yeah, that is something that's interesting, right? Because I guess, I hadn't ever thought about any extra reasoning behind the visits. When you mentioned like doing it for agents, it's like, hey, do me a favor and bring my guy in for a visit. I know he's not going to you, but we want to get some, I like that. I like that. That's a good idea. Some game to be played in that regard. But I do say that with the visits, I think that with the teams, there's so many options, especially in this draft. And I think specifically the Commanders, there are so many different ways you could go, and we'll have to go and make those decisions at 7. And so it's not just do we take Jeremiah Love or do we take a Sonny Styles or do we go Carnell Tate, because each of those decisions unlocks this whole other maze of just what could be how you have to build out your roster, like what things are going to do, how this unlocks things, what are you going to do with it, and especially the rest of your draft picks. So, man, the visits are important because even Cincinnati being back there at 10, maybe they love what they see, pun intended, but maybe they love what they see. They really do like him in up close, and it makes
interesting
them say,
mocks that I just saw.
Yeah. Let's call, they're like, let's call Washington and see if they want to make this trade.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities that are still out there. One of the interesting mocks I saw today had the Commanders from Peter Shrager, who's a pretty well plugged in guy, taking Sonny Styles, and he made the argument, and we've talked about this before. He's very Fred Warner-like, right? You can see why Adam Peters likes him. You saw the big smile he had on his face on the Kay Adams show talking about him. He checks a lot of the boxes in productivity and those things. What would be interesting to me is if Styles was the pick, like what is the trickle-down effect on this roster, right? They just brought in Chanel, right, from the Chiefs. You thought everybody was assuming Jordan McGee would have a larger role this year. You would think this defense would help unlock Frankie Louvu a little bit more. But, how do you get all those guys on the field? I mean, because, you're taking Sonny Styles at 7. He's going to be on the field, right? I mean, he's going to be on the field. I would assume he'd be the green dot guy as well. Unless you're going to give that to one of the safeties, I don't know. But and if you think they're playing a 3-4, how do you get all these guys, on the field, or you don't, I guess, it would just, that's what I would be fascinated to see, because either your draft pick or, your free agent guy, Chanel, or Luvu, does one of those guys not going to be on the field at some point, right? And then obviously McGee, if you're playing a 3-4, which everybody's assuming that they're going to be playing.
I think they're going to be more hybrid, and I think it's going to be based on a couple of things. One, based on who you're going against, what type of offense, how do they face against a 4-down look, because there's plenty of options as the roster sits right now. Obviously, cut downs have to happen, like Charles Min, who's another guy who's been added to this pass rush. So there's plenty of options that they could go with a heavier set. They could look to have 4 or 5 defensive tackles down there on the field. All right. Then they could also say, we want to go with 1 defensive tackle. Let's let this bear dance in the middle, and then put a whole bunch of speed at linebacker. That's where like a Sonny Styles could come into play. Is he blitzing? Is he not blitzing? Since he is so fast and explosive, he could blitz from depth maybe, right? So then that unlocks a different bit of the game, playing a game with the quarterback where you generally would have to step up, and he's like, okay, we're going to determine this person is blitzing to really get to the quarterback. But if Sonny Styles is fast, he's athletic, he's explosive, he can blitz from depth. You think about the different games that they're going to have. Sonny Styles could be the Micah Parsons for the Commanders. He could be that type of a player. Micah Parsons, when he was just killing it for Dan Quinn down here in Dallas, that could be your guy. That could be your guy. And having the intelligence, and he has the acumen and the background of playing safety, so he can backpedal and get into coverage. And then Nick Cross has 16 sacks or 16 pressures as a safety, so he could play down in the box. You drop Sonny Styles. There's a lot that goes on that gets you really excited about that name being a selection over here on draft day. Maybe enough to where you want to trade up and go up and get him. But nonetheless, Sonny Styles is going to be a hell of a player that you really have to consider what he can do. And I think he unlocks a lot of excitement. You have to go and execute it. You have to go and execute it, which is the biggest thing, Scott. But just what he could be, I guess he would be like that Jeremiah Love. This is how I guess people would envision Jeremiah Love being for the offense.
Well, to me, there's a real – I kind of feel like the Giants. He just looks like a guy the Giants would need, right? Because if you look at the Giants' defense, what are their issues, like which level of defense they have problems with? And I think they're missing that linebacker too, right? That guy, that's going to go out there and not miss tackles and, be all over the field, can cover out of the back. You guys coming out of the backfield, cover the tight end, whatever you needed to do. He looks like that kind of player in John Harbaugh's defense. Of course, right now the Giants, are dealing with this Dexter Lawrence thing, right? Yeah. Like his trade demand or a new contract that has just come out as the early days of the Giants with John Harbaugh opening up. I hope they trade Dexter Lawrence, trade him the hell out of the NFC East. Tell you right now, man, get him out of here. Move that guy away. We don't want to see him anymore in the NFC East. Please trade him. Trade him out west.
He can get
trade him the AFC, please.
I want him to get everything he wants, man. I hope he gets a new house address. I hope he negotiates the moving expenses in there. All of those things, because you're right, man. Get him out of the division. We don't have a center. There's a lot of people that are slated to get chances at this position, but with one of the more important positions on the offensive line, obviously left tackle is what it is. But there's still somebody that has to snap the ball, has to communicate with JD5 every single play. I really want that to be a consistent relationship as well, Scott. So Dexter Lawrence being in the AFC West would be a beautiful thing. It's just one less dominant player that we'd have to face.
We're here on Believe in Commanders podcast. Scott Jackson, Anthony Armstrong, part of the Believe Network. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Please like, comment, and follow the podcast. We always do appreciate it when you do those very important things for us. All right, so if Sonny Styles is gone, if Jeremiah Love is gone, I know which is the nightmare scenario for a lot of Commanders fans. One of the ideas that I've never given up on, never kind of shut down, and I think we need to revisit a little bit more often, is the idea of Reuben Bain or I don't think David Bailey makes it that far, but because think about this, even though they did some work at the DM position this offseason, only Oweh is under contract after this year, right? Like, all these guys are basically playing out their in the case of Armstrong playing out his deal, Chase on's on a 1-year deal. There's no real investment beyond this season and anyone outside of Oweh. So that's still a position of need, right? Like, and that's still a position where, the more the merrier if you have guys that can get after the quarterback. So the Bain possibility of him sliding down to 7, if some of these other, what we think are quote obvious fits for the Commanders aren't there, I still think presents a real possibility for him to be in play with Washington, even with shorter arms.
Man, the arms thing. He's gonna get that out. It's gonna be the bane of his existence. We're gonna have to get that. Just negate that. Dude produces.
Yeah,
he produces. That was one of my favorite players. Just kind of coming out of that NFC, but the
national
college
title.
football championship,
Yep.
all that whole playoff run. I was like, let's just go see who goes out there and produces. You know what I mean? Like in the NBA. If a player just comes out of the blue and makes a run during the tournament, he finds his way in the lottery.
Yeah.
Ruben Bain could do the same thing, regardless of the fact that he has shorter arms. The guy has skills. He has power. And, the thing about the power and his hands being so heavy and violent, even if he doesn't win, I feel like he lets linemen know, I'm here and I'm going to be here. You're going to get body blows. Boom, boom. He's punching arms, forearms. They are going to get sick and tired of them short ass arms hitting
right.
You get what I'm saying? So now the lineman sees him trying to swat a forearm down. He may pull his hands back, and now he dips underneath, and the lineman can't. So this is a part of the game that makes sense to me. That unlocks a lot of things, right? That unlocks a lot of things. Maybe you get more turnovers in the secondary because you have a guy that can get to the passer on a consistent basis with Ruben Bain, man. But you really got to make a decision on who you hire. You know what I mean? This is why you hire the people to look for these folks. But just like
ZipRecruiter, man.
Yeah, ZipRecruiter would be a great place to go and look for this.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to find DNs at ZipRecruiter, but I'm sure Adam Peters and the Commanders have ZipRecruiter nearby. If you are in the world where you're looking to hire and you're looking to find somebody to learn more about the job, what you want to work for. They seem like a good fit. Their excitement about the role made them stand out. These are all the things ZipRecruiter can present to you. If you are hiring, you want a candidate who's passionate about your role, but you can't get that insight from a resume unless, of course, you post your job at ZipRecruiter. And now you can do it for free. That's right, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds a qualified candidate quickly, and ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested, qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. Candidates can tell in their own words why they're interested in your jobs. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2. Find the candidates you really want for your job on ZipRecruiter. 4 to 5 employers who posted on ZipRecruiter get quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. You see it right there below us. If you're watching on YouTube, meet your match at ZipRecruiter.
Appreciate
so again, we're all hopeful the Commanders find their match. Yeah, we hope the Commanders find their match, and I don't know, maybe again, ZipRecruiter's the way to go. But with 6 people in front of you, we know what the first pick is going to be. Mendoza. I feel like Arvell Reese at 2 it seems pretty rock solid at this point as well. Yeah. Did you see the story today that Fernando Mendoza has alerted everyone he is not going to be in Pittsburgh for the draft? He's going to stay at home in South Florida, with his family and have his draft party there. We've seen a lot more of this over the years recently with guys staying at home. I don't know about you, but I kind of like it more. I think it's a little bit more genuine, and this is like one of the biggest moments of your life. I mean, I'm kind of surprised so many of them haven't done this in the past, right? Like just been like, I want to be with my family and my friends at home instead of walking on some stage and a bunch of fans that some of them care, some of them don't care so much. I don't know how many Raider fans are making the drive to Pittsburgh, but Raider fans are everywhere, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that with the draft moving around, it makes it a little bit more reasonable. Here, let me pause right quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the draft not being in New York, it loses a lot of the aura for me. It's very similar to the Pro Bowl, where it's cool that you make it more accessible to the fans, right? And that's fun. That's an exciting thing. But not being able to go to New York and have that original experience,
Right.
That's different. And the streaming ages, it's easier to do it where you just stay home. They're going to send a camera crew. They're going to make a documentary.
Right.
And then you're gonna watch it later on. So I'm not mad at it. He's gonna have a more authentic experience. So good for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now next year when it's in DC, our feelings will be hurt if anybody skips it. Obviously, I mean we're going to expect 100% attendance from all 32 first-round selections when it's in DC next year.
Yeah, everybody. Y'all need to all pull up, and because at that point it's like a history lesson.
Sure.
If you've never been to DC,
That's right.
Go tour around. They get to see all of the monuments, test I can see the content now. You're testing their, American history knowledge. Cause I'm gonna be real, Scott, I'll be real. I grew up down here in the Dallas area. Okay. And we have our very own Arlington down here, Arlington, Texas. And, when I first saw all of the tombstones, it said Arlington National Cemetery, and I was like,
right.
where the hell is Six Flags? I was like, where's Six Flags at? Because I don't know where that's at in Arlington. And then I realized it was Virginia, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Now thinking bigger now, seeing bigger.
Exactly.
So a lot of folks may not know. They don't know.
Yeah, now I don't know if they've locked this in. There was discussion. They wanted to do it in the National Mall, and obviously, man, that's going to bring in a lot of security, right? To make that happen. But it's also going to bring in a lot of people, so it will be a sight to see for sure. However they do it, and it should be a lot of fun. But I'm hoping there'll be at least a lot of player participation because look, it is cool. You're there. The guy comes out, makes the pick. It's a little different than they flip it up on the video board. But I also understand it from the player's perspective, like we were just saying. It's a little bit more authentic if you're with your family at home, instead of just going across a stage. But I would assume that, we're going to deal with this each year now where there's going to be less and less green room participation just because, it's just we've seen it done the other way and guys seem to have just as great of a time as they were back in the old days when they were walking on the stage.
DC would probably have pretty decent turnout because I would think as many fans come to DC because they're like, well, hey, it's DC and it's a game, right? The whole family would be like, let's go up there, let's go experience it. So I mean, if I had to, I'm not being mean to Pittsburgh, but if I had to put two cities up next to each other,
I get it, man. You met a lot of Steeler fans. Most of them have moved from Pittsburgh, so it's kind of like Buffalo, right? Yeah. Like it's just a couple places people tend to leave a little bit more so than other places.
So
I get it. I know.
Mad at them.
No, I'm with you.
Miami or Pittsburgh, what you want to do? He's already finna be like. The thing is, he needs to spend as much time as he can with his family because he's about to be out there in Vegas, right? For goodness sake.
Speaking about spending time with family, how cool has it been to see the Instagram sharing and all the other things we've seen from Jayden Daniels with his crew out there in California over these last few? I guess it's been about the last week, right? We see Dyami Brown just sent out some pictures. Terry was out there and some other guys. It's been pretty cool to see that.
Yeah.
And here we are in April, and these guys are already getting at it.
Yeah, it feels good, honestly. It feels good. A little family reunion, getting the bros out there running some routes. And I know that feels good because they didn't have that continuity early. You know what I mean? Dog agrees. They did not have that continuity early. They weren't able to really start throwing with each other until training camp. And that's not the way to go and run a top-notch offense. So now what I think you're seeing is possibly the top four receivers, especially with Rachaad White and Dyami Brown. That's my dark horse to have one hell of a season this upcoming year. Him getting started this early, right? He's getting started early where a lot of guys are coming off of injuries still. So look for Dyami to have a hell of a year.
Yeah, I think it's again, he's in a good spot right now. Even if they add Ayuk or a draft pick, I think he's still in a good place to bounce back with the relationship he has already built with Jayden in real time in some big games. Right, no bigger throw than the one that they connected on in that Detroit game was a big time play. So in the playoffs in the divisional round a couple seasons ago. So I think it's good to see these guys doing this early, and when they get on the field, it's not going to be the first time in years instead. Now they've gotten that out of the way. And same with Rachaad White, right? Who would like play with Jayden, but that was forever ago now, right? It's the Arizona State era, not even the LSU era. So that was a while ago, but now they're at least getting those early reps before the team gets together and gets organized. So it's exciting to see this kind of stuff, and hopefully, again, they'll be able to add to it this offseason, and everybody, most importantly, knock on wood, can stay healthy and be ready when the time counts. Speaking of time, I think we're about up. Let's reconvene later this week. We might have some guests coming in here to talk some draft with us. Looking forward. We're almost 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. It's crazy how quickly it's coming up upon us.
Oh, yes, indeed. Before we go, I got one thing for you. Let me just ask this to you.
Yeah, what do you got?
I did a mock draft earlier, okay? Mock draft.
Okay.
My scenario gave me an opportunity to trade back. But let me set it up for you, okay? I'm sitting here at 7. The players that were on the board: David Bailey, Carnell Tate, Maui Goa, the tackle, and Mansour Delane. We were sitting at 7.
Okay.
I got an offer from Miami for 11 and pick number 30 in exchange for pick 7 and 71. What would you do?
So 11 and 30 for 7 and
71.
All right, 4, 7 and 71. Yeah, I think I would take it, actually. I think I would move back the 4 spots and then up, obviously, the 40 whatever spots to get back in the first round. Because, again, they have the money, so that's not an issue, right, with the first round. And then it gives you the extra year of control when you get first-round picks as well. So, yeah, man, I'd be all with it, especially with you just named like 4 guys, all of which could fit for this team that are still on the board at that point. I don't think that's terrible. And then let's just say, for whatever reason, somebody gets in, at 10, takes the guy you really want, and you're like, oh crap. I mean, there might even be another chance to fly back even further. I know that's we were just talking about how we don't want to see them sliding anywhere, but if you're going to keep getting draft capital, I don't hate it.
Yeah, that one there, we did ended up taking Carnell Tate at 11. So that was like a pleasant surprise.
So you didn't get Tate at 11, and I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's out of the question.
I'm not mad at Tate at 11. I ended up trading 30 to the Giants and picked up a 2027 too. But I still was able to address a lot of needs. Got a big corner out of Arizona. So I think that draft plan wasn't too bad, but hey, you got to stick around for another couple of weeks to see what Adam Peters is going to do. I'm excited about it. Right. We'll be covering it all over here at Believe and Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel and by ZipRecruiter. We appreciate you. That's Scott Jackson. I'm Anthony Armstrong. Make sure you give us a follow on all the socials. We'll talk to you next time, maybe with a guest. Y'all have a good one. Bye.